First tonight, Michael Murphy is not a household name, but he has been a working actor in movies and television for more than 50 years. The kind of actor you see and say, oh yeah, I know him. He used to spend his summers in Kennebunkport, where his sister and brother-in-law owned and ran an inn, and where he eventually had a home of his own.
Now, after spending most of his life in either New York or California, Michael Murphy lives in Cape Elizabeth. He sat down with us to talk about how being in Maine full-time has changed his outlook on life and work.
Being up here, I've sort of lost interest. It's interesting. My life is so relaxed. I don't have any of that angst going on.
You're not burning to get the great parts anymore and to be involved in the action.
Yeah, I mean, why is he working and I'm not? You know, all that stuff. There's something about living here in the woods, kind of. I look out the window and I go, oh, whew, and you get a dog. Everything kind of mellows out. I'd like to do the picture, but what am I going to do with my dog?
You've turned into a country squire.
That's right. It's the first time I've had this coat on in about 4 years. And I like it, I have to say. I think I'll live longer, I hope so.
Let's go back to the beginning of your acting career.
Yes.
How did you get started in acting?
Growing up, I couldn't wait to get to New York. Everything was in New York.
Times Square becomes the Great White Way at night when all its spectacular lights go on.
Were you working a lot in the theater then in New York?
Yeah, that was not a lot, but a little bit. And I was also working in a department store. I was in Lord & Taylor, which...
What did you do?
I sold stuff. That's another story. I don't know. I
can
get off on that one.
What did
I was
you
in
sell?
the men's department.
Okay.
All the actors did this stuff in those days. They go ahead and pick up a few bucks, and in 6 weeks you're finished.
Eventually, Murphy went back to Los Angeles, where he'd grown up. His first Hollywood break came in the 1960s, when he met Robert Altman, who was producing and directing a dramatic TV series set during World War II.
Combat.
Altman was producing and directing episodes of Combat. It was the first TV series Murphy acted in. Here he is.
Where's this guy out of it? Walking down the road carrying a dead German and thinking it's his brother.
Altman, who's on the right in this photo, would go from Combat to become one of Hollywood's most acclaimed movie directors.
And that's where my education really started. And he was the best teacher. He was, because he didn't teach you. He just leave you alone and encourage you, you know. He put me in one picture after the next, and I just learned it. And he was nothing but encouraging, always.
In the 1970s and 80s, Murphy's career took off, and he appeared in movies by some of the best directors of the time, from Robert Altman to Woody Allen. You had a period there, An Unmarried Woman, Manhattan, and others, where you were cast as the philandering husband. Yes. Was that something that was kind of frustrating for you after a while, anyway?
You know, after An Unmarried Woman, I mean, I couldn't get a date for 4 years. I mean, it was just awful.
What? Tell me.
I'm in love with somebody else. At first, you know, I thought it was just a thing, but it isn't. I'm in love with her.
Literally, people would go, they'd look at me and go, oh, yeah, I remember, oh. No, and guys, too, they said, I never would do that. I would never treat a woman that way and cry and all that stuff. It was terrible. One of the really interesting projects that you and Bob Altman did was Tanner 88, the groundbreaking HBO series in which you played a presidential candidate, fictional candidate, and yet part of what was remarkable about that series is there were scenes where you were interacting, your character is interacting with the real life presidential candidates in 1988. Yeah, that was kind of the point of it.
How you doing? Nice to see you. How's it going? Is this your interview? Nice this is my daughter, Alex. Hi, how are you? Very hard. Very nice to see you. So how's it going? Fine. I'm tired. How you feel? I gave you a plug in there, so go get him. Take care of you. Good luck in the race. I want to beat you, but I'd rather have you in there than Kemp for a while. Oh, yeah, well, I understand. Well, the same is true of you, right?
And you were improvising a lot of that,
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, because we were shooting just in real time.
What do you think of movies now?
I don't go to them very often.
What you've been doing a lot in recent years is narration for the public television documentary series, The American Experience. Yeah. Great work. Do you enjoy that?
I do, so much. I'm learning things I should have learned in high school when I was goofing off, you know.
The booming transatlantic trade tied the fortunes of Ireland with the fortunes of America. Spanish treasure ships traveling homeward from the New World brought Europe a new root vegetable.
I'll tell you, it's
first
a
grown
funny
by
story how I
Indians
got
on
that
the hillsides
job.
of the Andes.
They were doing a show on the Irish coming to America, and they needed a guy with an Irish name. and Brian Denny, he had quit. He had got a movie or something.
Hollywood, if you're lucky, and if you get breaks, and if you get the right jobs and the right roles and the right movies and so forth, can be a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah. If you don't get the breaks, it'll break your heart.
It sure will.
Sounds as though for you, it's been a fun ride.
It really has. I've had a very, very lucky life. Very lucky life. I mean, it was always fun.
What's the movie you've done that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I got a few of them.
All right, give them to me quick.
I very much like Nashville, and I like Manhattan. I think is a terrific picture, really a good picture. And of course, I mean, there's nothing like that television series. I mean, that was so much fun and it worked out so well.
Tanner.
Yeah.
Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. What's the movie where you wish you could burn the reels of film?
Well, there are quite a few. I think a lot of the stuff in my early days. I once did a movie, and it was a hit, called Count Yorga Vampire. And it was a bunch of us kids, and we made it for like $30,000. But even that was fun. You know, I had a good time.
Fame and celebrity are fleeting.
Yeah.
The work endures. What do you want to be remembered for?
It's interesting. I've been thinking about this sort of thing. I have a weird take on all of that, and that is I would like to just leave a very light footprint. I'd just like to go away and let it all, I don't want to leave a bunch of stuff behind. I figure if people aren't spending their dinners talking about Cary Grant or people like that, they're not going to be worried about old Mike Murphy and how he wound up. I would just say, you know, I really just want to go away.
Fade to black.
Just fade to black. Yeah, that's all I wanted. That's perfectly fine with me.
You really don't hear that often.
No, he's a very down-to-earth guy, very funny, great storyteller, and he's got a million stories. We could have done a 10-hour interview with him because he's worked with so many people and he's got a story about everyone, it seems. And
Wow.
he enjoys what he's done.
And he clearly enjoys just having his time now.
Yeah, no, he's loving life in Maine. He's very
for him.
content.